Sorry. Hey, Todd.
Hey, and I refuse to clap along, just for the record.
You know, you're a party pooper. That's all it is. You're a party pooper.
I hate fun. Just let it be known.
I'm okay with that. I mean, kind of used to that. This is part three, so I think everybody in the chat room probably has recognized that fact by now. So I think we're okay.
And plus, I'm just a little sad. This is the end of the line here. It's the third episode of the trilogy. We're kind of winding things down, and I'm a little sad. I got a little teary eyed before I had to shut the camera
Todd, we can do a part four.
I don't know. Would anybody want a part four? Have we left any stones unturned?
I don't know. Let's see at the end of the show. I think maybe we'll come up with something that we can do. Maybe some stuff that we could leave out for today, and see where we end up with timing.
We'll see what the audience says.
I'm in a different location every time. If we do a part four, I have to figure out what, maybe off a cliff or something. See, first week I was in Castle. Second week I was in the Cincinnati office. Today I'm actually in my home office, hence all of the boxes and everything else like that. So don't fault me for my beautiful space here. This is where the work happens. So
it looks like the cleaning lady missed the room. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, there's a blanket covering a whole bunch of stuff. We're still unpacking. We've been here for 2 weeks and like 3 days. So, and my office has gotten the least amount of attention. In fact, there's a cat and a box of Cat 5 cables sitting right next to each other here right now. It's kind of an amusing sight. I might have to take a picture of that and tweet that out here in a few minutes. But at this point, I think it's worth.
Cat 5 plus a cat, Cat 6.
It is rather amusing. I'm going to have to take that picture for right now. It's not going to come out on the chat or anything, but that's worthwhile. That was fun. So I guess we should go ahead and go to the deck, huh?
Yeah, let's. We put a lot of love into that slide deck, so let's look at that one.
All right.
So today, this is part 3 of a 3-part series, and we'll spend a little bit here when we get deeper in talking about what we've talked about already, and then today we're going to kind of show you some nuts and bolts at the end, just kind of some stuff that didn't fit anyplace else. And don't forget, you've got all this business going on with the Adobe thing, and there's boxes everywhere and swirling things and all that. For the videos and for the slide deck, if you go to the upper right-hand corner of that little module, you can make it full screen and get more of our pretty faces. I'm well lit. I've got a good webcam. It would be a shame to miss all this and have it small, so make sure and blow that all up as big as you can. All right. So I will take it from here. Oh, that's my favorite slide ever. That is one. If this tech thing
I thought
doesn't
about adding the blur tool to it. We've been playing with Snagit and Camtasia. I thought about using some blur magic here, but it didn't make it in time.
I'm thinking if this tech thing doesn't work out for me, I could just be a model. I mean that's it. I've been practicing my poses, looking at my watch or the blue steel, and oh yeah, it's.
Hand model, yeah, hand model. There we go. All right.
Find my hand model twin. It'd be great. So this is me. I'm Todd Clint. I'm a SharePoint MVP. I've been doing SharePoint since before most people I know were born. About 12 years now I've been doing SharePoint. I've been an MVP for 10 of those 12 years. And that's kind of Microsoft's way of telling me I got a big mouth and to keep up the good work. Jason and I, 2 weeks from today, we're going to be at SP TechCon, or flying home from SP TechCon, I guess, speaking at a conference out there. Work with all kinds of Microsoft technologies, PowerShell, SQL, Windows, Bob, Notepad, all of them. I love them all. It's been good for me. I've got a personal blog out at toddclint.com/blog. You can find out all the fun tech things that I'm doing there. And I also, when I'm not doing webinars with Jason or not preparing diligently for webinars with Jason, I also do my own podcast on Monday nights at 8:30 Central, and you can find all about it there at toddclint.com/netcast. Jason, take it away.
So this is me. I'm the other guy. I asked to be a Minesweeper MVP, but apparently they deprecated that MVP. So they did award me the SharePoint MVP. So I'm a SharePoint MVP also. I'm new to Rackspace. I've been here 3 months. We just moved to San Antonio, hence the boxes. I'm the Office 365 Advisory Services Manager. I run that team of amazing, awesome, spectacular people doing really fun and cool things with Office 365, helping people understand. I occasionally blog. Hadn't been done in a while, but it will again here soon. I've got a whole bunch of stuff ready to hit. I know I say that every time, Todd, but I really am going to blog as soon as I'm not prepping videos and things of that nature and recording and doing all of this stuff and having to drive across the state because United Airlines decides that I'm not good enough to fly on their airplanes. But that's neither here nor there.
You're a blog tease. That's true.
Yeah. So. And I'm a frequent chat room member of the Todd Clint Fan Club and the Monday night webinar podcasty thing he does.
He's
also
one of the podcast hooligans. Yes, it's true.
And lots of people in our chat room today who are part of that crew as well. So hello to everybody out there. You can find me on the Twitters at SharePoint Elhorn, as my friend Seb likes to call it, SharePoint Elhorn. And all the code that we've played with is at github.com/Jason Himmelstein. Under the webinar repository.
Jason, here's something I've never told you. So you and I have been friends for I don't know how many years, and you've been SharePoint Longhorn for forever. For the longest time, I thought that was a reference to the code name for the Windows Server thing. And I'm like, this guy really loves code names. He's got SharePoint and a super old version of Windows. And then it was maybe a year or two ago that I made a connection between that and college.
Well, funnily enough, I was working at the University of Texas at the time when the codename Longhorn rolled out, and we were some of the first to roll it out on campus as well as across the world. We the head of IT was on stage at TechEd that year announcing how awesome it was that we had rolled it out, and so yeah, it's a double entendre there. So. Yep. Let's do some shameless self-promotion, and we'll jump right into today. So as Todd mentioned, we are both going to be out at SPTechCon. If you use the discount code RACSPACE, it gets you something. It may just get you stickers at the booth. I don't know at this point. But definitely come out and see us if you're going to be out there. I'm doing 3 sessions plus an Ask the Experts panel. Not sure why they asked me, but they did. Todd, you have a couple sessions out there too?
Yeah, I'm doing a PowerShell session. I'm doing an upgrade session. I'm doing some kind of stump the something's expert thing Tuesday. I'm just going to be walking around, refilling people's drinks, that kind of stuff, just keeping myself busy, not in trouble.
Oh, all right. And then we're going to both be out at SharePoint Alusa, the greatest SharePoint/music festival in the world. We can say that, in the world. It may be the only one, but it's still pretty spectacular. Come out and join us September 18th and 19th in the wonderful burg of Branson, Missouri, out at Branson Landing. And come out and see us also in Las Vegas, Dev Intersections, the SharePoint and Office 365 Intersection Show. Looking forward to that. You can use the discount code CLINT because it's shorter than Himmelstein and easier to remember how to spell.
Yes. Which, again, and I made this comment last week, it's not often I'm in a crowd where my last name is the easy one to spell. So that's the bulk of the reason I hang out with Jason, honestly, is because it makes my last name look easy.
Yeah. All right, so let's go through our quick agenda. We thought of this more like a news show today. So we're going to do a quick review of where we have been, what we've done so far. Then we're going to cover the headline news. There's some new stuff that just came out, Todd. Some pretty exciting stuff, and we're using all code names here. It's a lot more fun than actually spelling anything out. We're going to run through some demo, some pre-recorded video to make sure that it actually worked. And then we have a couple of puff pieces, some lighter news, a little dueling banjo style fun here. And then lastly, we'll do some more pre-recorded demo video, and then answer every question in the chat room, whether honestly or not. That's neither here nor there. So.
The thing to take away from this, participants, is you can't stump Jason. That's the rule. With a quick Q&A, you just can't. You can't stump him. So you've got 40 minutes or so to think of the toughest question ever. Jason will answer it.
And if I am failing, I always have my good friend Yoda back here, who actually will answer the question for us as well.
So I just made the connection. I have R2D2 at my desk. So.
Yes, I have him over here too. He's in the room for us. All right, so rules for today. As a part of what we're doing for the webinar, make sure you do as we say, not as we do. There's some shortcuts that we take that you shouldn't, and we'll be sure to highlight those for you as well. Ask lots of questions in the chat room, please. That's what we're here for. We want to make sure that that we're able to answer those for you. Be patient with us. We have trimmed a little bit with using some Camtasia magic to try and make this faster and easier for you. And pray to the demo and cloud gods for us and hope that everything works out well today. We have some great folks making sure that everything works.
Yep. And one thing we found that helps, and for any of you aspiring internet superstars like Jason and I, because we're huge on the internet, one of the things that we found is if we don't turn all of our stuff in at the very last minute, it seems to work better. Like if we turn our videos in the day ahead of time, it turns out they upload better. So just a little note for you guys that want to be big shots like us someday. Preparation apparently is one of the keys.
It's useful.
So this was kind of in the review. We've had two sessions before this, and one of them was kind of some theory stuff, and that's kind of what this slide talks about. Jason and I are both super excited about Azure Active Directory, and this slide sort of says why. There's a bunch of great things you can do once you get your identities into Azure Active Directory. You can use that with Federation and things like that to get into other applications, Dropbox and Workday and Concur and all these things. And there's just a whole world of great things. You can add Windows 10 machines to an Azure Active Directory domain and manage them that way. Windows Server 2016 when it comes out, things like that. So Azure Active Directory is this hub that all kinds of great things come off of. But you need to get your users in there, and you need to get things in there in a very good way before you can do that. And so that's what, and like I said, Jason and I are really excited about this. We've done this, we've seen it, it's good stuff. So if you haven't watched episode 1 yet, and we are not starting with episode 4 like some of the other good trilogies that have come before us, we actually started with episode 1. But in episode 1, we talked about the theory behind it and kind of why you would do it and the things that would hold you up and stuff like that. And then in episode 2, we actually did it. We showed you how to install it and configure it. We synced some users and things like that. And today we're going to pick up, we're going to review a little bit of that, going to show syncing some users, but we're going to kind of give you some background on how to troubleshoot things and how to get in there, get your hands a little dirty, make sure you stretch before you do this, make sure you're well hydrated and all that. But we're going to kind of show you some of the nuts and bolts after you've gotten this installed. So it should go in there well.
Alrighty. So this is the thing we've been waiting for. This is one of the big reasons for us coming forward and doing this session in the first place. This is excitement. Pure,
Yes.
like electricity, AC/DC song rocking out in the background, yay kind of moments that I completely missed in the news when it first hit, Todd. I have to be honest. I was waiting for it. I wasn't expecting it for a week or two. This hit, and we got on the horn yesterday together, and you're like, yeah, we should talk about this. I was like, that's not hitting for a while still.
Yeah,
so I was
pretty excited. I did the little dog thing. I tinkled on the carpet a little bit when it first came out. But for us SharePoint 2013 folks, which is, I'm guessing, the bulk of the people watching this, and my mom, hi Mom, this comes out in the August 2015 cumulative update for SharePoint 2013. So those come out on Patch Tuesday, which was the 11th of August here. And now built into that cumulative update, you've got SharePoint 2013 installed, you've got Service Pack 1, now you've got this August cumulative update, and now when you build a search service application, you have this option now to make it cloud ready, cloud enabled. And this is some really cool functionality. It allows you to, you've got a couple of options. You can take your on-prem search index and you can ship it up to SharePoint Online, and the two can talk. So now when you do a query, either on-prem or in SharePoint Online, you get the same results. And it's not this crazy bifurcated thing that you get now where you've got one results here and then you get the federated results over here or anything like that. And now they're all mixed together, and you can do relevance and you can do sorting and filtering and all that kind of stuff on results that are in different places. And so that's one cool thing. Another cool thing about this is now you don't even have to have an index on-prem. It can all sit in online in the cloud if you want to. And probably the third coolest thing is that all these new tools that are going to be Office 365 only, Delve, Office Graph, all that kind of stuff, they all use search in the background in SharePoint Online. So now that your on-prem content is in SharePoint Online, now all those tools can consume your on-prem content too. So now you can go into Delve, and when you're seeing all the documents and things that are in there, it can be on-prem content as well. It's pretty cool. And they first showed this off in SharePoint 2013, or excuse me, they first showed this off at Ignite. And there's a session on it that's down there. It's also in the resources up there. The Implementing Cloud Search Service App link will take you to an Ignite session where they show how to configure it and all the great things that it does. It's pretty cool. I personally, I have been slaving away. I take my craft very seriously. Jason can attest to this. And so for the last 48 hours since this patch has come out, I have been laser focused on this session. So I actually haven't got a chance to play with this yet, but I'm hoping soon that we can do that. Dan in the chat room mentions that you can also, if you have this installed in 2013, you can proxy 2010, so your 2010 index can also be included in the cloud. So this is one of those things. You know, Microsoft started hooting and hollering about this cloud thing 4 or 5 years ago. I don't remember, and it was just not that good, and nobody really took it seriously because we got the feeling that Microsoft was saying everything should go in the cloud. And so as soon as you could think of one thing in your farm that couldn't go to the cloud, it ruled the cloud out. You couldn't go to the cloud. And I think maybe uh, 2 years ago, 18 months ago, something like that, it felt like Microsoft kind of shifted their strategy and they started talking about this hybrid thing. And this is one of the huge pieces of that. So this getting that search service put into place, now you can gradually move content over, but your users don't have to learn new search things or new locations or anything. It just kind of gradually, slowly moves over. So this is one of the more brilliant things that Microsoft did. And I can just imagine how the meeting went. The product team, they're sitting around, how can we help people get into the cloud? And somebody's like, let's do the thing where we wire the two search services together. And somebody's like, that is impossible. You're fired. But I think it's pretty good. So I'm really excited to play with this once I get done with this webinar today. And so Jason's in the chat room. He's kind of taking a poll. He's asking if anybody would be interested in seeing another webinar, maybe showing this off in part 4, setting it up and configuring it.
I'm just saying we now have an international contingent asking for this. So, multiple countries asking for this content. So, vote it up here, folks, and we'll see if I can convince Todd to do a part 4 before the end of the session. Because I think it'd be worth it. It could be fun.
Yep, she's in Canada, so this is international now. We've crossed the boundaries. Yeah. So yeah, this is a good thing, and I'll probably be blogging about this. The other thing is, if you click that link at the top, and this is in the resources also, I keep a blog post and a list of all the patches for SharePoint 2013 and 2010, and that is my link to the August patch. And so as I find problems with this, I'll put them in there. And if you find problems with it, shoot me an email or send me a tweet and let me know, and I'll add them to that list. I'll make you internet famous. But that's kind of where I'll be cataloging any issues.
All right. This to me is the excitement and the sizzle. As I've been known to call it. It's very exciting. Here, I can listen. There we go.
Oh, that's good stuff.
That's another story for another time. But no, this for me, that we've been anxiously awaiting the release of this for customers who are still in 2010 and are looking at this and saying, what's going to drive me to the cloud? What's going to get me there? Why would I consider a hybrid environment? This is one of those things that's really going to put us there. So we really want to get some demo done, but since they just released it this week, it really just didn't make it into today's demo stack. But with that, let's talk about what we're going to do from here, in part 1 of our demo videos, because we have 2 parts today. It's not overcomplicating things. It's fun. This is a little bit of PowerShell. How to screw up and lose friends. I thought that was useful, Todd. I thought that was a lot of fun. And then we're going to license a cat. So I don't think we need to say anything more. I think that says it all, doesn't it?
Is it the cat sitting next to the Cat 5 right now?
No, unfortunately, that was Nate, not Cleo. So I'll tweet that during our video. I will tweet out the picture of the Cat 5 sitting next to the cat. And
all I can say is I've got 2 cats as well, and neither of them are clever enough to lay next to the Cat 5. They always just try to trip me when I'm going downstairs and things like that. They're not smart like yours.
All right. So let's go ahead, and I think it's demo time. Demo time. So Todd and I are going to go on mute, be in the chat room.
On our AD Okay, so here we are. We are on our AD Connect server. This is a server that Jason and I installed Azure Active Directory Connect on. And at this stage of the demo, we've got everything installed. We've got everything configured. We've done our first sync. We know everything's good. Jason added a couple of users. We synced those up, and those are good. And we're just kind of walk through now some of the care and feeding, the day-to-day things that you're going to be doing with your environment. So first is a refresher. Actually, let's go back to here. Let's walk through what happens when you have to add a new user. So you're spacely sprockets, you're doing things, you're hiring new people, and you create some new people in Active Directory. So this is on-prem Active Directory. We're going to add an account for Jason's cat Cleo,
She's pretty.
and a hard worker. That's what we expect here.
Yes.
We will call her Cleo.
I've taught her to fetch, so that's a good thing. She brings me the scotch when it's necessary.
That's an important step. I don't know if that password is going to be long enough. Let's find out. It was not.
Uh-uh.
Oh. So let's do this. I'm just putting numbers at the end.
It's a good thing we can edit this in post.
Yes, we'll fix this in post. Okay. So Cleo has an account, and we are expecting Cleo to get up to speed and start working immediately. We're paying Cleo a lot. We can't afford to have her sitting idly by. The problem, though, is if we go out to Office 365, and we will not turn protected mode on. I'm crazy like that. We will go out to our portal, portal@office.com. Don't show that message again. I will log in as my highly privileged account. And just for giggles, I'm logging in not as an Azure, not as a Office 365 account, but as my domain account. So I'm logged in.
And that would be the JHTK Fun domain, correct?
Fun. Nobody doesn't like fun. Okay,
No.
so we're in Office 365. We got all these options. I went the admin option, and you can throw /admin at the end of that URL and jump right into here. So we've got everything. SharePoint Online, having a rough day. That's welcome to the cloud. So we go into here. We look at our users, and Cleo is not there. Cleo cannot get into any of the things that we're doing in Office 365. She can't get into the SharePoint Online site and be working. She can't do any of these kind of things. And we can't have Cleo sitting idly by.
And we've sprinkled catnip all over that thing, so she wants in.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, that's true. It's like catnip. So what do we need to do? Well, first, before we do that, I wanted to show you guys a little bit about how this works in the background. And Jason and I talked about this a little bit in the previous session, that in the background, the magic that makes all this happen is Forefront Identity Manager, or FIM. And much like as SharePoint folks are used to, we know that the MIIS client is a way to look in and see how that synchronization is going. Now I'm logged in as a privileged account on this box, so I'm able to fire this up. You have to be logged in as a local admin and all that kind of stuff. But you can see we've had syncs going, but they haven't happened since we created Cleo's account. So I'm going to do one thing here. I'm going to pull this over here, make a shortcut. Let me be very clear, there are a lot of fun things you can poke around in here. You can look at these connectors, you can see your management agents, you can start figuring out what happens when things, when you click things. Don't change anything in here. For goodness sakes, there's just not a better recipe for destroying things than making changes inside here. But it is good for watching things and seeing what's going on. So we can see that a sync has run and everything's going successful, everything's happy. But we need to make the sync happen so that Cleo can get synced. But how do we know when that's going to happen? Maybe it's going to happen in 10 minutes so we don't have to do anything. Maybe it's going to happen in 6 days. So the way that we do that is this sync is part of a Windows scheduled task. So if I go to my start screen here and I open up a task scheduler, and I go to my task scheduler library, we can see that we have a job right here that is called Azure AD Sync Scheduler. There's a pretty good chance that's the thing that's scheduling our sync. And we can see that it's running as our sync account, so that makes us think that's the thing. And under triggers here, we can see what happens. So this job was created on August 5th at 4:11, and it goes every 3 hours by default. So that's the schedule, that's how it works, and this is what triggers it. Every 3 hours, it's a Windows scheduled task. So this is nice. We could, if we wanted, click run here, and that would run this task, which would run the sync and would get Clio up to the cloud. That's one way to do that, but I'm going to show you another way that's less clicking, because I'm a big fan of less clicking. So let's close this out. We're going to go back to Windows Explorer here. We're going to go in this directory. We're going to go into the scary bin directory. Nothing but fun in the bin directory. We have this application here, directory sync client CMD, and that's just an application. I'm going to create a shortcut for that over here also. And this is another way that we can kick off the sync manually. And we're just going to run it, and it's just going to go. And there's the window. And we will be able to tell when it kicks off because we're watching it here in FIM, and we can see now that at 4:44 all the pieces are starting to go. And if we look in the window back here, it's going to do all of our syncing. We can see what's going on. If we look at these different jobs, we should see, oh, there's an ad. What do we think
So
that's going
technically, is this considered cat hurling at this point?
to?
This might be the nicest thing that you, as a technologist, have ever done to a cat, because we're not talking about killing kittens here. We're adding them to the cloud. I mean, this is impressive. You've come a long way, Todd.
This is true. I've grown as a human, and I no longer kill kittens. Though, in my defense, I always try to get people to not kill kittens, because
This
kittens,
is
they got the
true.
big eyes and the big ears, and they're just flat out adorable. But we can go through here, and again, don't make any changes here, but it's great to see. We saw the update. The update was Clio. We saw that it got synced out. Everything's good. The window went away, and I think Clio's good to go. So let's pop back out here. Let's refresh this screen.
And for everybody at home, as we're recording this, Todd's actually wearing a kitten on his T-shirt.
I am. That's true. Yeah, we're not recording the. I found this out, and nobody on this call cares about this. But the cat on my shirt has a name. It's apparently Pusheen, Pusheen, and it's a well-known internet cat that I didn't know about. And I was wearing this shirt out. My daughters, I have young kids. My daughters bought me this shirt as a Father's Day present because it was cute and had a cat on it. And I was wearing it out in public. And a grown-up, a woman came over and asked if she could take a picture of me wearing this Pusheen shirt. And I'm like, yeah, what's the deal with the cat? And she's like, oh, it's Pusheen. And so that's where we're at right here. So Clio is now out here, and she is in the cloud. She's synced up. We assume that her password and all that synced correctly, but we are still one step away from Clio actually being productive in our environment. She can't actually do anything yet because she doesn't have any licenses. So her account exists, but she can't do anything. And so we're going to go in here and assign her a license. We're going to give her an Office 365 E3 license. Notice I can't click OK or make this all happen. One of the things that I have to do before I assign this license is I have to assign a location, and she's in the United States right now. So now I can click that out, and now Clio can log into SharePoint Online, Exchange Online, all that kind of stuff to get her work done. So this is an important thing to remember because when you're onboarding new users, you're gonna have to walk through all this stuff. The other thing that you may want to do with that syncing is if you fire a user, if you disable an Active Directory account, it's not going to get disabled up in the cloud immediately. So you're gonna have to put this as part of your IT cleanup process when people leave the company. Not only are you going to want to deactivate them in Active Directory, but you're going to want to sync that up to the cloud as quickly as possible. Anything to add with that, Jason?
I think that you pretty much said it all there, sir.
All right. Okay, so we've got Clio in here, and we did everything syncing. We touched the command line a little bit, but one of the things that Jason and I are both very excited about is PowerShell. And if you're planning on staying in the Microsoft technology field for the next several years, and you don't want to get a job flipping burgers or sacking groceries or something, you should also be very excited about PowerShell. So we would be remiss if we didn't show you some of the PowerShell options that you had with all of this, with the syncing of the identities and Office 365 and all that. So if you remember back in the second episode, way back, it was like what, 7 days ago, something
I
like
think
that.
it's something along
At
those lines.
least,
It feels like it was about a week.
at least I had more hair, all that. Jason showed you all of the things that he installed on our box, and it was SharePoint commandlets and Azure commandlets and sign-on assistance and all that kind of stuff. You can go back to the homework from week 1 or watch the recording from week 2 to see what all those things are. But all those things are installed on this box, and so today we're going to take advantage of the Azure commandlets. And so we've got the shortcut here, Azure Active Directory module for Windows PowerShell. And I'm going to pin this to start because I plan on using this a lot. And I'm going to run this. One important thing about this is you always got to run this administrator, or it gets very fussy pants on you. So before, I'm also going to clear that out because I hate having that whole path in there. So the first thing that you need to do before you can get anywhere is you need to connect to Microsoft Online. And so there is a commandlet for that, and it is connect MS Online Service. And it's going to ask you for username and password. I'm going to log in as that same username and password, jhtkfun.com, and my super secret password. I just got to keep myself from saying it out loud when I type it. There. Now, one of the things about this commandlet is if it says nothing, that's good news. No news is good news. If you run this and you type in the wrong password or something, it's going to give you a bunch of red text on the screen. But if it says nothing like this, then we're in good shape. So we can find out this is a commandlet, the module, so we can get all the commandlets for that module to find out what options we have. We can say get command, module, and it is Microsoft. Oh, I should have typed more to get that. There we go. So Microsoft, oh, that's not it. Is that the one? That's not the one. What's the Azure module name? Do you remember, Jason?
I usually do AZ, and I have a profile script that does all this for me, Todd.
You do.
So, you know. And it actually is installed on the box, so, you know.
Well, so I was trying to get the module, or the commands for this specific module. So the name of the module is Azure, and you can do a get command with module to see and type more, not moat. But this gives you an idea of, and that's not the right one either.
Which one are you trying to add?
The one that's going to give us the MSOL users and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's SharePoint Online, SPO.
Is it SharePoint?
Yeah, that guy is.
Yeah, it's in that list. There we go. Nah, so I'm looking for the other one. I'm looking for the one that's got all the MS. So let's do this. Let's do get command.
Microsoft.online.sharepoint.powershell. That's the one you're talking about, right?
No, I'm talking about the Azure one. So MSOL, that one. Okay, so and it's the name of the module's over there. MS Online. I bet that's it. So get command module. Bear with us, folks. MS Online.
We're just going to snip this once you're ready.
There we go.
You know we are.
We should. All right. So this module is the Microsoft Online module. This is Azure and all that kind of stuff. But a bunch of these commandlets also handle the SharePoint world and all those kind of things. So one of them is get MS Online user, and I did not enable quick edit on here. We'll do that. So I bring this up because this is one of your user management things that you're going to end up doing. So when we do our get MS Online user, you'll notice it's all of the users that we've been seeing in Office 365 because Office 365 is using Azure AD in the background. So for instance, there's Cleo. We can see that Cleo is licensed because we just licensed her. Licensing your cat is very important. Ask any municipality about that. So this is important because if there's any looping things that you need to do, you can do them inside of here. So one of the things that I've had to do in the past, and I've got a great story about this, is change a password. So I can do get command password. Sure enough, set MS Online user password. It's right there. So let's do a help on that command and see if that does the thing that we want to do. And it does, resets the user, the password for user. One thing about this commandlet that is not intuitive is that it takes the password as a string. Not a secure string, mind you, a regular string or an unsecure string or insecure string. It's got crippling self-doubt. I don't know. But you pass that a plain string, and then you've got the Boolean for forced password change. So that's one thing that you can do. Another thing you want to do sometimes is give users licenses. So when we were setting Clio up, we could have done all of this through PowerShell. So set MS Online user license. We could have applied her license that way. So now I talked about when we created Clio, we went into Active Directory users and computers, we created our account, then we went in and we manually ran the sync job, and then we went into the user interface and we applied her license. We could have done all of that with PowerShell. We could have used the AD user commandlets. So let's see, we could do something like this and say, I wonder if what we've got for AD users. Yeah, I bet there's a way to do that. Oh, look at that, new AD user. So we could have created Clio with new AD user, which is part of the Active Directory things. We could have used that executable that we have the shortcut to push her up to Azure AD. Then we could use the license one to set her for a license, the set MS Online user license. And we could do that all as a batch. Another thing that you may end up doing is if you're doing something like OneDrive, where you need to put these users in a domain group. You could do that with PowerShell also. And when you're doing your dir sync and all that, you may choose to not sync your entire Active Directory. You may sync people based on OU or on global group. So this is something else you could do with PowerShell to get that all set up. But it's easy now to create a tool that creates your users and adds them in all the right places. So that they can take advantage of all the great things in Office 365. So I do have a great story about this. One of my favorite PowerShell stories is one where I didn't know what I was doing, and I renamed all of my SharePoint farm databases to SharePoint_config. That was a good time because I'm just an idiot. So that's a good story. There's a blog post on that if you want to read that. That's a good one. I did a very similar thing with Azure here a few months ago. So did a talk at Microsoft Ignite in May, and it was on OneDrive for Business, which is of course Office 365 and Azure AD. And of course, I can't do anything without wanting to know all the PowerShell bits. So I've been in there playing with all this. A few weeks before that, before we went on stage with that, I was at the SharePoint Evolution conference in London, and a friend of mine, Jeremy Thake from Microsoft, was up on stage doing the keynote. He was showing off some cool things in Office 365. Now, when Microsoft creates an Office 365 tenant for themselves to use, like Jeremy was using, or for me to use, like we were using Ignite, it's all pre-populated. It's got a bunch of users in it. It's got a bunch of site collections. It's got content. It's got everything. It's just ready to go, drop in, and make stuff happen. It also has a well-known default password, which I will not speak, but everybody knows. And so Jeremy's in there doing his demo. He logs into something. He has to log in as a user, and we can see that he's copying and pasting his password from a password thing that was on a different monitor instead of just typing in the well-known password. And somebody asked him about it, and he said that he had done demos before in Office 365, and as soon as the tenant URL popped up on screen in the browser, somebody in the audience with a laptop logged into his tenant using the well-known password and deleted all of his content. And that had happened to him at least twice. And I'm like, man, I can't believe that people on Earth exist like that. Are these the people that are stealing candy from babies? And I mean, these are just horrible people. So my very next session at Evolution, I was talking to a buddy of mine, Kirk Evans. We are talking about this. He's like, oh yeah, that's happened to me a couple of times too. So now I change all my passwords. So now I'm all terrified because Ignite's coming up. I've had this tenant out here forever that's got these passwords. But immediately I think, hey, PowerShell can take care of this. So I know that I can go in here and I can say get MS online user, and that will give me all of my users, sure enough. And then I can pipe that through set MS online password, and I can change all of the user account passwords in one fell swoop. And I can change them to something, like Todd is cool, something like that. And I can do it with a single line of PowerShell because I'm the smartest man on earth. So I'm a little nervous about having my tenant just hanging out there in the wind, but I'm also thinking this is another great opportunity to use PowerShell. So I do it and it works. I do my MS Online, get MS Online user, pipe to password. It works swimmingly. I log out, I log back into MS Online, and it all works. And I am super smart, and I can't be prouder of myself. And then a week or so later, a week and a half later, Laura Rogers, who I'm doing my session with, and I are playing with some stuff, and Sync is broken. Sync no longer works. I'm creating users in Windows Active Directory. They're no longer making their way out to Azure AD. Everything has fallen down. And so I start poking around in the event logs, and what happened? When I ran my massive script and reset all the passwords, I changed the password that Fim was using to log into Microsoft Online to do my syncing. So I had broken sync with that one-liner. So I went back in, used this tool, reset it back up, but it had been broken for several days, and you get this little nasty gram in Azure AD and in Office 365 that says sync hasn't run in more than 3 days. Please go fix your stuff. And so I got to learn From that, I got to learn about going into here, and I could see with this one, obviously this one works well, but I could see all my failed statuses on my connections when it would try to connect, and I went into Event Viewer, and there was all kinds of event log errors about that. And if I think about it, I'll put some screenshots in here to show you guys that. But when you're troubleshooting this, because syncing will break, stuff like people changing the password for the sync account or other kinds of things, those are kind of your tools. You should go into the event log, and whenever I go into the event log, it's always for bad news. It's like watching the news at night. The only news is bad news. So I go into the system and the application logs, and then I go on the right. There's a filter events. I filter that to have it only show me errors and warnings and things like that, and then the problems pop up. But that's where I first saw the error that said password was wrong and all that. But going in here is also an interesting or a good place to go. And not that you should do this, but you can look at the connection adapter, and this is the Microsoft Online one, and the properties of that, and it lists the account here and the password. So I could have gone in here and tried to change it here, but that's just the worst idea ever. That's worse than running with scissors. Doing it, changing the user account. Or the other thing that I could have done, had that password change been something that was intentional, that I needed to leave in place, I could have reran the Azure AD Connect wizard, the tool, and synced it up that way and put the new password in, and that would have bolted everything together. Jason, do you have any stories of woe or stupidity to add to this?
I do. I ran into one recently in the wonderful Rackspace public cloud. We do a lot of monitoring, and I spun up. Todd and I both have this glorious ability to go spin up whatever servers we want and be able to do all sorts of cool things for all the testing purposes and things that we would do. Not a Minecraft server, of course. No Minecraft servers out there for us. But
Never been done. Not a single time ever.
No. But in the situation we're starting to do all of the prep for these demos and whatnot, I went ahead and spun up my first farm, which was on it was using DirSync. It was not the Azure AD Connect yet. Wanted to have something that was the old way. Had it running for a little bit, and I had it using DirSync against my family domain. So my parents, for their iPads, for their email, my wife, all of that type of stuff. The whole family uses Office 365. We're a Microsoft family. And all of a sudden, I started getting messages saying, we're seeing an excessive number of DNS requests, so we're going to do blah, blah, blah. And I ignored the message, of course, because, I just figured they're going to leave me alone. Lo and behold, I started getting emails from Office 365 telling me you have not synced in 3 days, you've not synced in 4 days. And what in the world is going on? So I finally went in, and I looked, and there in the ticket, it says we're closing up these firewall ports, and port 53 is kind of an important port.
Yes.
That was one of the ports that they were blocking because there's a DNS server, because it's Active Directory, and Active Directory get integrated DNS and whatnot. So they blocked inbound and outbound on certain ports on me, and that broke my my DirSync. So that was rather painful. As soon as I had that re-enabled, I went ahead and manually triggered a sync, and boom, I was off and running. It was perfect. Keep an eye on your firewall ports. Make sure whoever's managing your networking doesn't go filtering ports on you and blocking outbound, inbound. So make sure you check out the topology that's required there, because that one was not a lot of fun. Happily, I had a message I was able to go back and find, and in the both the FIM logs as well as in the Windows logs, I was able to find what was going on, but it took a little bit of time.
Yeah, and if you've got any kind of monitoring software in place that monitors your event logs for errors and stuff like that, hopefully some of these will kick up. But yeah, there's a few different ways that syncing can break. The event logs and looking in FIM is a good way to start that troubleshooting process.
All right, that was fun.
So I didn't even notice that the music I had on there popped up.
You were listening to me so intently there during that portion of our conversation, Todd.
So in reality, what that was is before you and I got online, I was listening to music, and that's Ace Frehley's self-titled disc came out in '77, whatever. And when you started talking, your volume wasn't loud enough, so I was using a little volume control on my thing, and it was raising my system volume. And apparently, the music thing puts a little icon next to it because it was paused. It was sitting on the screen. It was paused.
Awesome.
So
All right.
yep.
So we have our fluff pieces here. Some other things have happened in the past week or two. Specifically, the MIM. I love the name MIM. It's much better than FIM. The Microsoft Identity Management Pack. You were going to talk to this, I think, Todd.
Yeah, so again, MIM is out. This is the Microsoft Identity Management. It is the next version of FIM, the Forefront Identity Management, which was the next version of ILM, the Identity Lifecycle Management, which was the next version of MIIS, the Microsoft Identity and Integration Services or whatever. So every time this product comes out, they keep changing the name. This makes me wonder what they're hiding. Like they're like, oh, we got this product MIM, and trying to get rid of all the baggage of FIM, and I can't wait to hear what they call it next. But this is what FIM does. It's the thing that we saw in the demo, the mixing and matching of all the identities. This is the next version, and this is important for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's going to add more cloud and hybrid support. Obviously, the one that's out there now has some support because that's what we're using, but they're going to have more support for that. It's going to support Windows 10 and Windows Server 2016 better. But I wanted to bring it up for this audience for a couple of reasons. Number one was don't be tempted to try to upgrade the version of FIM that you have with SharePoint. That would be the dumbest thing you did that entire day, and I don't care what else you've done that day. That would be the dumbest thing you would have done. It would break things spectacularly, never to be fixed again. But we found out at Ignite that SharePoint 2016 will not ship with FIM. So with SharePoint 2007, the directory import was just a SharePoint thing that went in. You just pointed it at a domain and it pulled all the users in. With SharePoint 2010, that switched over to being only FIM, so it was this complicated thing with gears and levers and mousetraps and marbles and all this that nobody could get working. And then in SharePoint 2013, we had them both, so we could choose. And now with SharePoint 2016, we're going back to the way it was in SharePoint 2007, and it only has the SharePoint sync. So for preparing for SharePoint 2016, if you've got some fancy identity things that you need to do that you would have needed FIM for in 2013, MIM is your man going forward with that. So that's kind of why I brought that up. Don't be tempted to upgrade FIM because you recognize those letters, but be ready to look at it. And there's a team, an Active Directory team blog post that kind of talks about it a little bit.
Right. And
yes. Did you want? Okay. So this one also just came out a couple of days ago, so I haven't had a chance to play with it much, but new in Office 365 and requiring the August 2015 cumulative update for SharePoint 2013 is the hybrid picker. And so this was, as soon as we were talking about this last night, we were thinking about the dueling banjos and the picking, diddling, ding, ding. Exactly.
SharePoint Lose is coming up, so we're going to be in Arkansas.
Banjos as far as the eye can see. But this is a functionality inside of SharePoint Online that will kind of walk you through hooking up your hybrid experience, hooking up, your OneDrive for Business and all that kind of stuff. So there's a good knowledge post out there. You can see it and kind of read up on that. And this is another one of those things where I haven't had a chance to play with it yet, but I will be in a couple days.
Another good thing for us to maybe demo in our part 4. If I can convince you to do a part 4, you're a busy man. You're a very busy man, and my bribes of warm hugs have not yet paid off. So hopefully, the people in the chat room will be able to convince you that it's a good idea. So we have one more set of demos to run you through. Rejiggering the Who's What's It. And everything old is new again. So in the previous, in part 2, we did get an ask, can you upgrade, how do you upgrade from DirSync to Azure AD Connect? We're going to show you that as a part of this. Unfortunately, we just ran out of time. We didn't get a chance to do the ADFS setup and show that to you. Something worth noting is that once you have deployed Azure AD Connect, we'll show you in the Rejiggering the Who's What's It what settings you can go in and play with Azure AD Connect. The thing you can't do is natively using the tool go back and deploy ADFS. So as a part of Part 4, and Todd, I'm gonna twist your arm here. I really want to do a Part 4, man. Jump in with me. Come on.
So this is one of those things that I've discovered at Rackspace that if you say it enough, it becomes true. And so if you just keep telling people there's going to be a Part 4 and we're going to do these things, if you say it enough times, it becomes true. I think that's how.
Yeah, I think we're just we're not gonna commit to a date here. That might make it easier to swallow. It'll be after SB TechCon, that's for sure. But we will do a Part 4, and we'll do the ADFS. We will go ahead and show off the fun new stuff, both the hybrid picker as well as the cloud search service application. So we will do that, and we will do it right here on IT Unity, and hopefully they'll accept that and let us do it here. If I figure if we say it, they have to let us.
Yeah, same bat channel, quite possibly a different bat time. We'll have to look.
Yeah, we might make that make Dan let us do that. I think it's a Lyman decision anyway, so, and he loves us since we got him our stuff early enough this time. So the point of all of this is you're not going to be able to reconfigure Azure AD Connect to deploy out ADFS. That's able to be done through PowerShell, but not through the tool at this point. We're going to start hammering on the product team and see if we can convince them to get that in there sooner rather than later, hopefully. But with that, it's time for more demo. So if we can flip over.
And don't forget to full screen this for maximum cinematic experience.
So taking a look at what we've done in the past already, we've configured Azure Active Directory Connect, so we want to take a look at some of the settings that we can go back and rejigger, for the lack of a better term. So using the account that is a global admin in Azure Active Directory, I can go in, I can connect up to my Azure Active Directory, which we've already seen as JHTK Fun, and I'm going to select everything here that I possibly can, Todd, just to make sure that we check out everything that we can. There's some things that are uncheckable, either they're in preview and they're not ready yet, or some things that I shouldn't be able to click on, like hybrid exchange.
Yeah, and I think rejigger is the technical term. I've read the documentation, and I'm pretty sure that's the term for it.
It sounds like a Microsofty term. So, all right. Here, I'm going to just pick a couple of directory extensions that I want to add in. Some logical things like, I don't know, division. For me, that seems logical. I work in Cloud Office. You work in Fairy Tale Land over at Rackspace. You never know. And something personal about a person, employee ID or employee number. I don't know, one of those will work. So I'll add those in as selected attributes. So I'm syncing those from my on-prem into Azure Active Directory. And here I can also make sure that I can select write back capability for specific groups, devices, users, etc. For right now, I'm just going to choose the whole JHTK Fun because I trust you. And Clio and
yeah, and this is important to note that we didn't do this when we set it up, but we were able to just go back and rerun that. So if we wanted to add attributes and stuff, we could do that.
I can also limit which attributes are syncing or are being exported out of Azure Active Directory. For now, I'm just going to take some of these defaults here, and I'm ready to reconfigure. So this very quickly and easily will go ahead. It'll go ahead and take a look, check out my installation, enable the features that are needing to be enabled here, and we're off to the races. Happens pretty quick.
Did you do any fancy editing here? Did you speed things up, or?
You would think that I would have, but in this particular case, I really didn't. This one happens really fast. I was looking for opportunities to, but Microsoft, they did a good job with this one, so I didn't get an opportunity to use my fancy snipper tool.
That and Jason and I have been getting up to speed on Camtasia and all of its great editing options.
Yes, it's a lot of fun. You'll see some star wipes and things like that later on, I think. I threw some fanciness in. Always looking for an opportunity to make it pretty.
Yeah, and some of this cool stuff, the password right back there's, that's a new feature, and I don't think we've completely looked at the opportunities for that and seen exactly where we can handle that. So I think I foresee upcoming webinars or podcasts where we get to explore some of these more deeply and find out exactly how we can leverage these and what the implications are and stuff. Because there's just some great technology out there that I can't wait to play with.
One thing here, it is restarting the online Microsoft Online Service Sign-In Assistant. It does that every time we do a change to Azure Active Directory, and here we're done. So sorry, Azure Active Directory Connect. So I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead and move on to the next section.
Once again, we're reminded here that we can add our Windows 10 machines to the domain and all kinds of other fun things.
So one thing I wanted to do is, Todd, if you want to talk to this, configuring staging mode. We talked about this in part 2 a little bit.
Yeah, this is kind of a wimpy way. The Azure AD Connect DirSync functionality doesn't have any kind of highly available options. So the best they came up with is the ability to configure a box but put it in staging mode so it doesn't do anything. So if your primary box should go offline, the VM hypervisor reboots or something, you can bring this one on, take it out of staging mode, and it'll pick up the syncing where the other one left off. It's kind of weak, but it's a good first step. Just sitting there saying, "Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. Let's do this." And just
Yeah, if you're making big schema changes on-prem as well, for some reason you're upgrading your Azure Active Directory, or sorry, your your Exchange, you're doing something like that that requires it. It's nice to be able to put it in staging mode. And here we do have the ability just to review what our settings are. It's nice to be able to do this, see which account is running, the Azure Active Directory Connect client here. I think we're going to see some fanciness coming up right here. Let's move on to the next section.
oh my, oh oh.
So we got asked for this in our last segment, in part 2. You're taking a look, you're looking at my Rackspace Cloud account. I have 2 Active Directory domain controllers, ADDC1 and ADDC2, sitting behind a load balancer. This is running my personal ADFS environment for himmelstein.org. That is a real domain that I own. Now, on ADDC2, you'll see the error at the bottom of the screen. An error occurred. It's because ADDC2 doesn't have DirSync running on it. It's installed, but it's not running. So ADDC1 is the one that is actually running the service. In this particular case, you saw that service account that was on the screen. I have no idea what that is. So that's because Azure, that DirSync actually created it for me. So what I'm going to do, just to make sure I have everything set correctly, is before I do my upgrade, I'm going to rerun the DirSync tool. So what you're seeing on the screen happening right now is the legacy DirSync tool being run. If you've never run it, it's kind of nice to see. I'm just going to have my password sync enabled, and it goes off, and it does it very quickly for that configuration. Now, ADFS in the background, all configured up. Took a little bit more time. But what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to run Azure AD Connect and make sure that everything syncs up. Before I do that, you saw I did a synchronization just to make sure everything got up there. I made the mistake, started to run Azure AD Connect first. I'm going to stop that and wait until my sync finishes. Now that it's finished, I'm going to go ahead and stop this process, start it back up. So you saw my FIM client, my green FIM client there.
Pay attention to that, folks. That's important.
Yeah.
Come later time.
Yes. So now I'm going to run this upgrade from Directory Sync to Azure AD Connect. And here I'm going to uncheck that, use the existing service account, and I'm going to go ahead and provide all of the credentials that it's going to need in order to do this properly. So I have a sync account. I did a little bit of trimming here to make sure it didn't take an hour, but I have a sync account. This is useful to have that is up in the cloud. It's a cloud-only account. Doesn't exist in my on-prem world. It is a global admin in my Office 365 tenant. And then I'm going to use an enterprise admin account. It's not going to store this credential, but this is giving me access to the on-prem forest to be able to do the syncing. And by the way, you do have to put this in SAM account name format. So Himmelstein/ADM-Jace. So if I flip that around, here we go. Now with checkbox start synchronization process as soon as the configuration completes, I'm going to fly by the seat of my pants here. I'm going to let it run, Todd.
So Jason and I briefly considered calling this section "We Do Everything Wrong So You Don't Have to," and using the UPN instead of the SAM account name was just one of the many ways we screwed this up when we were working on our demos.
So this legitimately did take about 4 minutes to run that one section. Everything else ran very fast. So you saw, being honest with you folks, took about 3.5 minutes of time out of there using my fancy Camtasia. But once that was done, things started flying pretty well here. It's going off and configuring the Azure Active Directory for me, making sure that it configures both the on Microsoft.com as well as just himmelstein.org. And once it's done, everything will synchronize properly, and I'll now be using Azure Active Directory Connect. You'll notice in there it is removing components off of my server. You'll see in the background I have my green FIM client. The upper left-hand corner, you'll see the little green guy. This is the FIM client that we're so fond of, dating back to our SharePoint days and 2010, and watching all that fun stuff happening in the background, seeing when synchronization was happening. But now Azure Active Directory upgrade has completed. So I'm going to go ahead, and one of the things I want to do is I want to kick off a sync. So the way that we do that, Todd had mentioned earlier that there is actually a process. I'm going to create a shortcut on my desktop here. I'm going to give it a fancy little icon. That way I know what it is. It's syncing up to the cloud and back down. So I'm going to run that. And what you'll notice here is, even though it says that it's doing it, it's importing, it's synchronizing from all sources, FIM, my green FIM, is not doing anything.
Is it lying to us, Jason? Is it looking us square in the eye and saying it's syncing when it's really not?
You would think that, but actually no. What's happening here is I actually need to run the correct FIM client, the MIS client, and I'm going to create a shortcut on my desktop for that as well. But you'll notice here the date and timestamp actually matches up. If I rerun that, you'll see that this is where it's actually happening. Green versus blue. Green bad, blue good. In the new world, everything is pretty in blue. Todd, it's almost like it's an Azure color.
Yeah, one could describe that color as Azure. Yes.
So if I rerun my sync here, you'll notice that that is going to go ahead and bring everything in. Here we go, create my quick shortcut and name it properly. If I rerun this, you will go ahead and see this happen. And you'll see it go into in process and finally have a successful result. And that is how I know officially I have cut over. If you go off and take a look in the directories, they're actually empty at this point, save for a couple of things.
Excellent detective work on that.
Pretty proud of that that little bit of Camtasia work there, Todd. I don't know about you. I think Todd's still on.
I'm unmuted now.
Yay. Welcome back.
Yeah, so there was some great stuff in there. I'm glad that I left the mess ups in there. That was good. I didn't want people to think that you and I's skills were so mighty that they could not be approached by the mortal man. So I had to show a couple of times that once in a while you and I make mistakes as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we are definitely human, human men. That is a good point. As infallible as I usually think you are, Todd, you definitely, having worked with you for these past 3 weeks, it's impressive. It's impressive how much we learn by the mess ups that we make. That's how we learn. It's the only reason why we know how to troubleshoot anything at this point, is because of our own flaws and failings. Happily, we learn them pretty quick. That green versus blue thing, that was pretty fast. I found that one and went, why isn't it refresh? And it took me a minute to figure that one out, but it was nice to find. So we've gone over our time here. This is the first time we've done a third one, and this is the first time we're going over. Hopefully, this was useful for folks. I'm glad to know that Todd's already halfway done with part 4. He's already been, while we were in that video, he's already recording for us. So hopefully this format was useful to you, with us doing some chatter in being live and some of this pre-recorded. Part 4 will definitely be the same way, just given our schedules and the fallibility of the of internet connections and clouds, and you never know where I'm going to be. So it's nice to be able to pre-record some of this and make sure that it works for you folks. So a couple of points to point out. Make sure you follow Todd's blog and his netcast on Monday nights. Follow us on Twitter. We'll let you know when we're going to do this again. Get on IT Unity. Thanks for getting on there. Become a contributor. It's a great platform for us. Part 4, we will do a part 4. It's just a matter of when we'll do it. And if there's more that you want to hear from us, please let us know. We'd love to hear from you. We love the community, obviously. We're doing this in our fun times. So for me, my ask of you folks, go spread the good word. Talk about Azure AD, connect, help people understand that hybrid's the way of the future. If you have questions, come see us at any one of the things we're doing here coming up. And make sure you enjoy playing with this stuff.
Yep, and if you've got ideas for stuff you'd like to see along these lines, by all means, shoot Jason and I a tweet or an email or something as we're starting to put together part 4. Part 4 of 3, as Michael refers to it in the chat room. We'd love to know what you guys are interested in, so give us a shout.
All right. Well, stick around for a couple extra minutes in the chat room and do any Q&A that you have. Again, thanks Scott Hogue. He's been a behind-the-scenes contributor to this for all 3 parts. It's nice to have extra community people to lean on. So thanks to Scott. You can find him and all of his stuff, brewery.fm is their podcast. They do a great job, he and Dan Usher. So thanks for joining us. Take care.
Bye.
It seems crazy what I'm about to say.